Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up.
This is the intro.
That's awesome.
Welcome to the Money Matrix podcast,
Thank
where
you.
smart money finds a smarter way. I'm Meyer Dalal,
I'm Ronan Fishman.
Mike
resident
Bluestein.
Canadian,
Yeah.
and we have Mike Bluestein here with us today. You want to share a little bit about what you do,
Yeah.
and how obviously it's relative to what we're doing here as well.
Right on. So I moved from Toronto or Vaughan to Florida here about 3 years ago, and I am a corporate attorney. And what we do is all corporate and securities laws. But one of the facets of the things we do is help Canadians set up down here, or actually anyone from all over the world who wants to set up in the U.S. to make that transition as smooth as possible. So we'll help set up the companies, help you navigate what you need to do to get rolling down here as a business, and what forms, etc. Really make it seamless. We have a great network of people that we work with. So if someone needs immigration attorneys, CPAs, etc., cross-border tax planning, we have all that at our fingertips, and we help people make it as easy as possible to start business here, and for those that want to move here, to help with that too.
And that ties definitely into what we're doing here, because a lot of the foreign nationals that we help, they all want to have some form of corporate structure to set up.
I'm really more curious as the most common question, and like I want to actually get that out in the open and dispel it. Personally, is there any tax advantages to opening up personally versus an LLC, or is it purely just a liability thing?
Well, definitely I would always set up some type of corporation for liability, because you just never know, and everyone likes to sue. So generally your options are LLC or a regular corporation for when let's get into it. Basically a corporation is kind of like a fortress. You're not getting through there, but even for tax, whereas an LLC is called a pass-through. So your expenses or your profits are passed through to basically the shareholders that they call members. It's like a partnership, an LLC. Could be a sole person, or it could be, husband, wife, group of people, whatever, which is a very good thing if you are resident in Florida, because then you flow up and you do consolidated returns, and you're basically just paying your federal tax at the end of the day at a personal rate, because everything flows up. But if you're not a resident in the U.S., an LLC is not for you, because you're going to get double taxed. You can get taxed here, and you're going to get taxed where you're resident as well. So if you're a Canadian, don't set up an LLC.
It's actually better to do it personally.
Well, I don't know about personal. I wouldn't do anything personally, but it's better to do what's like we call a C-Corp or an S-Corp.
Right.
It'd be a C-Corp. It's just a regular incorporation with like an Inc. at the end, or Corp or something like that, because those are your taxes basically fenced off to that entity. What you do with it after that, dividends or whatever,
right,
that's separate onto your
So
personal
you would
tax.
do a C rather than an S if you were a foreign.
Well, an S is a tax election that you do when you're filing with the IRS. So yeah, an S would not be available to someone if they're not filing
in the U.S.
In the U.S.
Now,
So
would they have to have an ITIN number? Is it or a
to
social
set up
security?
a company? No, you do not need a social security or an ITIN to set up a corporation in Florida at all.
Out of curiosity, do you, if we were first time, can you do an ITIN application for them? Is that something you guys do?
We don't do that.
No. Okay.
No, there are certain ITIN acceptance agents, and you have to register with the IRS to do that. Usually, it's like an accountant. There's a list on the IRS website, but we don't do that.
So you specify Florida. Are you only opening Florida type of corporations, or are there other?
We will do other entities in different jurisdictions. We have some people wanting Nevada or Wyoming or Texas or Delaware, yes, but less Delaware than before, just because of all the judicial issues they're having. And a lot of big companies are moving out of Delaware because of the uncertainty with the courts and how they're going after conservative companies.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah. So it just sort of makes it a little more risky. That
Wyoming, I heard, is the new.
Wyoming is a good one. We've had some companies set up there, Texas and Florida. And that's primarily.
Yeah, I don't see why you would want to be in Florida. I mean, for all the tax advantages, the most acquisitions are happening in Florida anyways.
Yeah, and a lot of big companies are moving their head offices here, and it's for tax reasons and the tax breaks they get. So it's a very good state. But yeah, we'll do other stuff. It's not just if there's a specific reason that you need to have it in whatever jurisdiction, we're happy to get that rolling. It's not an issue. It's just a matter of why do you want that and does it suit your needs?
So I'm a foreign national wants to buy purely cash flow assets.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to refer it to Mr. Bluestein. What's the first piece of advice you're going to tell them?
So I would want to know if they ever if they're intending on moving here, if there's a plan of operation is to buy something and move here or not.
What's the difference?
Well, I guess the setup would be a little different. If you know the person is going to come here within the taxation year, then maybe you do an LLC, right? If you know they're going to move here in a few months and they're going to get their Social Security and they're going to file tax here, then you can do the LLC even if they're not necessarily here yet, because they will be filing the tax return here at the end of the year and you're good on that.
Okay.
If they're not, there's other things to do it. If they want to keep the cash here, there's corporations. If they need something more complicated, if there's multiple investors or whatever, that may be a limited partnership coupled with a limited partnership in, let's say, Canada. So sometimes we have groups of investors in Canada that want to invest in real estate here. And generally what we see is they set up an LP in Canada, limited partnership, and they invest in there. And then it invests in another LP that's here in the US. So therefore they have some of that pass through. And there's various benefits for that. But it's a very complicated structure and there's a lot of reporting and a lot of tax returns. And
from a banking perspective, it becomes very hard. And that whole LP, limited partnership, and general partners becomes a challenge because, who's the main, who's not the main, who do you go after? God forbid you have to foreclose. So we shy away from them just because we really can't wrap ourselves around any type of security in the asset. So that's why we allow SC and LLC vesting, but we require them to be U.S. domiciled. And then ultimately, if they wanted to, they could be owned by the Canadian LLC if there is, or the LP or whatever it is. But as long as it's U.S. domiciled, and then with the multiple investors, certain of our transactions, if you have more than one, we require them to be on
guarantees.
And both of them to be on guarantees or whoever it is, and then others, as long as the majority is on there. So it really depends on that. But from a corporate structure, your sound advice, you will, is definitely set up some form of structure.
Yeah, definitely have some sort of entity, whether it's LLC or just a regular corp, and go from there. And again, it depends on the person's situation. And
if they're moving and call it 2-3 years, they're not ready right now. They're clearly have plans, but it's an investment property for now. So you would suggest either a C.
Yeah, I would still do the corporation for now. I think it provides
and what are the benefits of that, and what are the downfalls of that, right? Because
you can get a bank account, right, going pretty easily when you have.
Can you open up a bank account remotely?
There are a couple U.S. banks that will once you get your EIN number. So
what banks are those?
BMO Harris.
Oh, okay.
They will do it. They have
because we've had some challenges with the remote openings for that, but none of them have been C-Corps.
Yeah, so BMO Harris will do it.
Okay.
What kind of minimum deposit do they have? Do you know?
$100 or something like that. Like
really?
It's really small.
Because there are some people, promoting some stuff, but you're talking about a initial $25,000 outlay, and you don't even know whether you're going to pull the trigger or not.
Yeah. So I've done BMO Harris ones myself, and I think I put in $100 or $200.
Oh God, we're going to have to.
And you set it up as a C.
That one, I think so. Yeah.
And what about an LLC? It would be the same structure.
Same thing.
Okay.
But again, personally, I wouldn't do LLC unless you're going to report here.
Got it. So please explain that, because that's very important. The overall general consensus, everyone thinks an LLC is better because you're gonna shield yourself from the risk, and it's a better way. It's the pass through. But in this case,
if you're not here, if you're not resident here, and you're not filing tax returns here, it's not the better way. Once you get here, it's the better way.
So explain the benefits of the C and the differences if you can, because that's very important, because we're coaching our client, not coaching, but when they suggest to us, because it's so common, we suggest an LLC, not, and it's ignorance, I guess, because we really didn't look into it as much as we should have. So I'm glad you're here.
So generally, all you see online is LLC, LLC, LLC. It's cheap
Right.
and easy to do. So that's why you hear it. And it provides you with a company and some limited liability with that, which is great. But it only, again, works if you are filing taxes in the US. Otherwise, you got to file a tax return here and you got to report that same income personally or whoever owns the LLC in the jurisdiction that you're in. So if it's Canadian, you're going to pay your corporate tax here and then you're going to pay more tax in Canada. So
you can get taxed on the same grossed up amount.
yeah, you're getting
Oh,
double.
so you're getting smoked.
Yeah, so you don't want to do that.
Wow. Oh my God. Tell me something. Have
And
you?
that's only for an investment property, right?
That's for anything, any income, any distribution, anything that you put in that LLC. If you're not,
So if it's a second home, for example, they're buying a second home. Is that something that you would
second, third, fourth, 100th, if
Doesn't
it's-
matter.
if it's an LLC and you're not here and you're not filing taxes here, it creates a tax issue that you could have double tax.
So what if you're a foreign national but now residing in anywhere in the United States?
I think that's fine as long as you are filing your taxes here.
So,
And-
so that's the keys. Now, is it harder to set up a C?
No, it's the exact same effort.
What does it
exact same-
cost?
I think it's $100 more or something. Like the filing fee is like $100 and something. We charge the same.
It's just out of curiosity.
So we do the full setup for $15.95.
$15.95.
Yeah.
Gets you the book. Gets you everything that
Everything.
you want.
Yeah,
and-
we'll submit the forms to get your EIN to the IRS. Even if you don't have a Social Security, we'll do it manually. That's the only way to do it. Takes a few weeks to get it. But yeah, we'll take care of the whole process.
Now, another question. A C corporation doesn't have a true operating agreement the way an LLC
Doesn't need it
does.
because it's a corporation.
So now, to prove ownership,
You show them the share certificate or the share register.
so the share register or the certificate is the only thing
That's it.
that from me as a banking person would require.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's important because everything for us is ownership, right?
Yeah.
Who owns it? And the most important for an LLC is the operating agreement
It
dictates
says
everything.
who owns. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
So in a corporation, you have bylaws and you have shareholders, and their minute book, which we do virtual minute books, would list all that stuff.
So you provide a copy of the minutes, probably plus the shareholder ledger to show
exactly.
who are the shareholders.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
so much for your time.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you
it.
guys. This
Dude,
is great.
This was a lot of
Looking
information to
forward
unpack.
to doing things together.
Yeah, me too. Thank you guys. It's been
Thank you.
fantastic.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way